Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Samantha Nelson about her ceremony at Disneyland Hotel's Rose Court Garden, with a reception at the Sleeping Beauty Pavilion, a ride buyout of Haunted Mansion, and a welcome party at the Disneyland Hotel. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Samantha.
Hi, Carrie.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiancé decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disneyland.
So me and my fiance at the time, Justin, we decided we would like to get married at Disneyland because it was kind of written in the stars, I guess. So I grew up going to the resort and seeing brides at the resort at Grand Californian and Disneyland Hotel, seeing the carriage like roll by through the property and everything while we were staying there. And me and my mom would always wish, oh, it'd be so cool if I got married at Disneyland. We always wanted a winter wedding because obviously it's beautiful at Disney, but also it's just something that we'd always talk about. My mom always wanted me to have like the muffs and everything and have like a real like snow themed wedding. But as me and Justin got engaged and we got engaged at Disneyland, we decided we really wanted to do a Disney wedding, but most importantly, a Disney wedding was also a really one-stop shop where we can have everything taken care of by a group of people, not having to outsource helpers or anything like that. My parents are business owners and they work really hard, and my dad also had a stroke in 2020, so it was really important to us that we had my parents not have to lift a finger on that day, and they didn't have to lift a finger that day at all. They were able to enjoy the day fully, which was absolutely amazing. But that was one of my main priorities. But it was just a special place for me and Justin after the pandemic to go to. And we loved going to like Oogie Boogie Bash together. We got engaged on property. And it was just a really fun vacation for us to go to as we started dating right before the pandemic. So we didn't really get to travel for almost 2 years. So it was just a fun, quick way to go down to Southern California. It's like, oh, we're going to do a Disney trip. But he fell in love with the parks. I've always loved the parks. So it was just kind of something that was meant to be.
That's fantastic. How did your friends and family react when they found out the wedding was going to be at Disneyland?
I think people were excited, but with lots of questions. I'm sure other Disney brides felt the same way. People were like, what? That exists? You can get married at Disney? And you'll be like, yeah. And then like asking about the logistics of all of it and everything. But everyone was really excited for it.
How many guests did you invite and how many were able to make the trip?
I'd say a safe number that we invited was probably like 100, maybe 120. We had 75 people show up that day.
Got it. Okay. How did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
We wanted December. We wanted specifically December 13th, 2024, because that was Friday the 13th. And we really wanted that Haunted Mansion, I guess, theming to the event, but they were not able to do the 13th. So we ended up on December 11th, 2024. The 13th at Disneyland Hotel, they had like corporate parties, like holiday parties going on. So we lost out that date to corporate events. So we did Wednesday, December 11th, and it worked out perfectly. We had an evening time ceremony and reception. The ceremony was at 5:30 p.m.
Got it. Okay. How did you choose your ceremony and reception venues?
I kind of looked at it from like a like the angle of like, okay, do we want Grand Californian or do we want Disneyland Hotel? We decided Disneyland Hotel. We liked the environment of like the mid-century theming. We love the Christmas theming at Disneyland Hotel. So we went with that. And honestly, there's only a couple little venues at Disneyland Hotel. So we went with the Rose Garden and then Sleeping Beauty Pavilion. I love the round room. I love the new carpeting, the blue carpeting that they have. And it was just kind of the obvious choice to go with.
Did you consider doing anything in the parks, or did you know you wanted to be at the resorts?
We wanted to do things at the parks, but we were not able to. We wanted to do like after a reception, we wanted to do like cake and dessert at Haunted Mansion or in that area, and it was not available to us, unfortunately. So then that's how we kind of ended up with the Haunted Mansion ride buyout after the reception to surprise our guests.
Interesting. Okay. How did you guys choose your officiant?
Honestly, our greatest resource when planning the wedding was the Disney Creative Partners list. That's how we found our officiant. That's how we found the team of the ladies that made the wedding invites for us. That's how we found everything. So we did greatofficiants.com and we did Alan Katz, and he was awesome. He met with us about a week and a half before the wedding, and he really got to know us. We talked to him for about I think an hour, and we told him we don't want a religious ceremony. We want it kind of Haunted Mansion theming, and he knocked it out of the park that day. We didn't even practice with him or anything, and it was just awesome. It was so go with the flow, and he added in so many fun Haunted Mansion lines and quotes in there. He was the best officiant, and he was so much fun to be around.
That's great. Did you add any kind of entertainment to the ceremony or the reception?
To the ceremony, I had the new Cinderella Coach. So the one that came out in the fall of 2024, I had that brand new coach, including the Royal Trumpeters and the Royal Footmen. And that was awesome. The horse was so cool to see. Standing there, he was such a big horse, and the carriage is larger than life. And then for the reception, we had a Disney DJ. We did DJ Jason Jazz, and he's done electronica and some of the other events in the Disneyland parks, and he was awesome. And his wife was our day of coordinator through Disney. Her name was Sarah. And then obviously after the reception, we did Haunted Mansion.
Can you tell my listeners a little bit about how that works when you do a ride buyout at Disneyland?
Yeah, so what that entails is at the end of your reception, I think it was about 10 o'clock or so, we said, hey, we got on the microphone, and they had me and Justin announce that, hey, at 11:30, Disney is going to be coming in here, and they will be giving everyone a wristband, and we are being walked to Haunted Mansion. And Disney's team of tour guides came in, and they wristbanded everyone, and they had these light up sticks, and they walked us all the way from Disneyland Hotel down downtown Disney, through Main Street, and then to Haunted Mansion. So through Frontierland and then Haunted Mansion. And we arrived there about 11:50 p.m. And we had to wait till the park closed, and they got all the guests out of that area, and then they let us go on to the ride. And the guests were able to go on as many times as they wanted in that hour. Some people I think they rode 4 or 5 times in that hour. Me and Justin, we personally only rode twice. So we went on first with all of our guests, and it was awesome having everyone in the stretching room and seeing everyone's look on their faces because it was Haunted Mansion Holiday, and it was the Christmas theming. And then after we rode that one ride with everyone, White Rabbit took us out front, and they did photos outside of the mansion in the new Haunted Mansion garden area that had opened, I think, the week prior. So I was the first bride to do pictures in that Haunted Mansion garden. So that was really cool. And then they took us inside almost when the hour was almost up, they took us back inside the ride and we got to do portraits inside the foyer, the stretching room, in front of where like the little dune buggies are and where you like load. And then we got to ride it one more time with White Rabbit. And then that was kind of it. And then they walked us all the way back from Main Street. The park is totally empty during this time. They walked us through Main Street and then out the front gates, and then we walked back to Disneyland Hotel. I can't even describe how this feeling felt, being able to do that, going down Main Street in my black wedding dress. So I had a dress change in the middle of the reception. I went and changed my dress into a black dress with a black veil, and I had a purple Haunted Mansion bouquet to go along with it. And it was the coolest feeling that I don't think I will ever forget or anyone will ever forget. It's so cool being walked, like your whole wedding party of these 75 people being walked through Main Street while everyone is leaving the parks. People are taking photos of you and video of you and waving to you and saying congratulations. It was a really cool feeling. And thank you so much to my parents for making this happen, because it was a dream come true.
That sounds amazing. Going back to the reception, do you have any menu items or cake flavors you would recommend?
So we actually did sort of a custom buffet. It was a very changed version of the Disneyland themed brunch selection that they have for Disneyland weddings. It was foods inspired by each land. So we had a full buffet of like the shrimp and grits. We had the mashed potatoes and like the chicken drumlets, like kind of what they have at Plaza Inn in the parks. We had pulled pork. There was like a salad option. We added a prime rib onto that. And the buffet was absolutely fabulous. I was kind of nervous at first having a buffet versus a plated meal, but the buffet worked way better and the food tasted so good. I would definitely recommend shrimp and grits. That was the best food item that we had at our tasting and at the wedding itself. And then for the cake flavors, we did a 4-tier cake. We did 2 flavors. We did pineapple, and then it was a wintertime exclusive, and it's mint chocolate chip. It tasted like mint chocolate chip ice cream. It was some of the best buttercream I have ever had in my life. And for our whole cake, we did a recreation of the Haunted Mansion cake inside the attic, which is really cool.
That's great. What a great idea. Can you tell my listeners about the welcome party you had before the wedding?
Yeah, so we did a welcome party the day before, which was December 10th, which was the Tuesday, and we had it inside of the adventure room inside the adventure tower. So it was just like one of those like larger conference rooms, and we had a buffet of like the dim sum selections that's inside the like Disneyland buffet selections for the weddings. We did the dim sum, and then we had an open bar as well of like wine, beer, and then like some drinks and stuff, and then also non-alcoholic drinks. And then we did the pretzels for dessert. So we had the salty pretzels and the sweet pretzels, and that was a huge hit. Everyone loved that. It was a nice time to gather all of our guests together. So we invited all of our guests to this welcome event. It wasn't just reserved for the family or special friends. It was everyone came to this event, and it was awesome. At the reception, we had late night snacks also for food, and we had the corn dogs, the nacho bar, we had the churro bar, the popcorn, and those were really fun details that we added in. Everyone loved the pretzels the night before. Everyone loved the late night snacks the next night too. The food at the welcome event was really good. All the food at both events were awesome.
Ooh, what is on a churro bar?
had like 4 different flavors of churros. It had like a chocolate one. It had a pineapple Dole Whip churro. So like the dust on the churro is like yellow and like white, and it tasted like pineapple-y. And then there was like a strawberry flavor, and then there was the classic churro. It was like a churro like cut in half basically. It had like little plates of it. And they set them out for everyone, and they like dusted them right there like they do in the parks. That was a lot of fun. We had the popcorn bar as well, and it had classic popcorn and it had the dill pickle popcorn seasoning. So there was a lot of different flavors you could choose from for the late night snacks, but the churro bar was definitely something. And we had that on top of the cake. So it was like 2 desserts.
That's great. Can you tell my listeners about the portrait session that you did after your wedding?
Yeah, so we did a portrait session 3 days after the wedding on December 14th, and that was also my 27th birthday. So I woke up at 1:30 in the morning to get my hair and makeup done by Fairy Tale, and then we had to be down in the Disneyland hotel lobby at 4:30 in the morning. And they took us to the castle, and we only did the castle photo shoot that morning because we had done Haunted Mansion photos a couple nights before. So we just did the castle, and it was a cold, cold, cold December morning, but it was awesome. We did pictures in front of the Snow White wishing well. We did the partner statue. We got to do behind the castle inside of Fantasyland. And then that's pretty much about it. It was so beautiful with all the Christmas lights on the castle.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day all fit together?
I guess my call time for makeup was about 10:30 a.m. My mom and the grandmas started their makeup at 9 a.m. So I did not have a bridal party. I just decided not to because I didn't want to have to add any stress onto having to travel from Sacramento down to Anaheim. So we just decided not to do a bridal party or anything like that. We just wanted to keep everything really simple. I'm an alternative bride. I didn't really want anything too traditional. So we just had the grandmas and my mom get their makeup done, and me, of course. And then I think about like 2:30, I put my dress on with my mom, and White Rabbit showed up like slightly before then. And White Rabbit, they helped me with my veil. They helped me with getting all ready and everything. They were awesome. They were like a stand-in bridal party. Those girls were amazing, and I would recommend them to anyone. I know a lot of people go to Jenna with White Rabbit, but I went with just anyone on their staff, and I got paired with Erin, and she was amazing. Her whole team was absolutely fabulous, and they really helped me get ready that day. They helped my mom get ready. They tied Justin's bow tie for him. They were great. So we got ready about like 2:45, and then I think at 3:15 I did my first look with Justin, and that was behind the Adventure Tower. That was a great moment. We got to take family photos after that. And then after we did family photos at the Rose Court Garden, me and Justin got to go see the horse. So we got to go see the horse and carriage. And I just remember we walked through the lobby of the Adventure Tower at the Disneyland Hotel, and we took like a left. And like you just stop, and there's a video of me, like just my face, my jaw dropped to the floor, and I could not believe it. It was like seeing something not even real, seeing the carriage with the horse for the first time. That was fabulous. It was so badass being in that carriage. Honestly, like like I am not princessy really at all. I guess I kind of am, but I don't consider myself too princessy, but I felt like a princess that day, and that was the coolest thing ever. And then I think about like 5 o'clock they started staging us in the carriage, had me and my dad be in the carriage together, and that was really fun and cool. And then they had the ceremony, And then after the ceremony, we did the cocktail hour. And at that cocktail hour, it was Alice in Wonderland themed. So we had like cards and flowers on the table and lots of decor. And we had flamingo croquet, which was really fun. And then me and Justin got to ride around on the carriage a couple times after the ceremony too. So while the guests were enjoying the cocktail hour, me and Justin got to ride around the property a few times in the carriage, and that was really cool riding in that new carriage, especially. It's so beautiful if you haven't seen it yet. It has like a checkered floor almost to it, and it has a little hidden Mickey on the inside of it. And then we had the reception. We did my parents and my brother actually did like an introductionary like dance. Like they like to introduce them, they did like this whole dance routine, which was really cool. And we had it like professionally choreographed by a local choreographer here. And then me and Justin did our first dance to Always Remember Us This Way, which is by Lady Gaga from the Stars Born movie. And that was a lot of fun because it was like a full choreographed dance we practiced for like almost 6 months. And we nailed it. Like I slipped a little bit because I kept slipping on my dress because it was all beads, but we nailed the dance. We did our toast. We did a champagne toast at the reception, and that was led by my mother, and she had a great speech. And then after dinner, me and my dad did our dance, and it was choreographed again, and it was for a Creed song, Arms Wide Open, and then it was like professionally cut. And so then it had like a second where it went like silent, like the music turned off, and then it turned into the Goofy movie Eye to Eye song, and we did the full choreography. And so that was a lot of fun. And my dad did the choreography in his kilt. So my dad and brother wore kilts to this event, and that was really cool. But we did the full Goofy choreography, which was a lot of fun. But then after that, we did like open dancing for everyone, and then the late night snacks came out after I did my dance with my dad, and before I cut the cake, I changed into my black dress, which I was much more comfortable in. The white dress was a little like tight in some places. I was ready to take it off at that point. I wanted to change into the black one. So I got to cut my Haunted Mansion cake in like a Haunted Mansion outfit. And then we did the late night snacks, and then we did Haunted Mansion after that at 11 o'clock-ish.
That sounds amazing. When you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
We wanted to focus on having really cool decorations, having a good guest experience, and having just the really cool features of a Disney wedding highlighted. So we did lots of decorations for the Rose Court Garden. We did the flower petals down the middle with the hidden Mickey in it. We did a chandelier in the Rose Court Garden, and then we did red and black flowers and greenery. We did the coach, of course, and we had like a mid-century kind of modern sign that Disney had made us, which was really beautiful. And then for the Sleeping Beauty Pavilion, we did like the drapery with the lights, and then we did high and tall flower arrangements that were from the ceremony that they moved over for each of the tables for the guests, actually. So that was a cool like piece because they had these like clear glass goblet sort of style vases with these huge flower arrangements, and those were at the ceremony down the aisle, and then they moved it to the reception on the guest tables. And then on the guest tables we also had some candles, and then for their favors but also as their place card, we had Mickey hats embroidered with their names on it, which was a cool touch. That was also the favor for the wedding because you can't go to Disney without ears. So we had to get like everyone's spelling of their name, like made sure it was like completely correct. And then that's what they used for the cards for people to find their seats. And we had like a sign that they made. I never got to see it. That's bad, but like I never got to see it. But they had a sign that showed like who was at each table. And then when they went to the table, they got surprised with the hat. And that was really cool. And then we did like the gobos on the dance floor. We did a white round dance floor. So we upgraded the dance floor. We did clear chairs for the guests. We had the storybook backdrop behind the sweetheart table, and that was a really fun touch. And that I feel like helped tie the room together. And then we had like a haunted mansion gobo on the wall, like the projection behind the cake, and that was cool because then that added that kind of haunted mansion touch to it. It was a great room. We really kind of went all out with the decorations, and I'm really glad we did. We also prioritized having a special surprise of the ride add-on. So we didn't do like a huge like welcome dinner that like we wanted to do. We didn't do like a character meet or anything like that, and we did that so that we could do the haunted mansion the next day.
Got it. Okay. Were there any aspects that were less important where you saved your money or just your effort?
I'd probably say like paper products. I know a lot of people really like a lot of signs and stuff for the wedding. We didn't really have that many. We had a couple of them that me and Justin had 3D printed, and we didn't really do that many DIY things, but like we did like a sign for our guest book that me and Justin made on the computer, and we 3D printed out at home and brought with us. And like little pen cups that look like Mickey hands that were 3D printed, and that held like the pens for the guest book. But I would say paper products is probably one of the things that we didn't really focus on too much. We didn't go real crazy with the like embossed napkins or like programs for the wedding. Like I know that's pretty popular right now. We didn't focus our effort on that kind of stuff. We also didn't really focus our effort too much on having a big bridal party or anything like that. We wanted our guests to have a good time and not have to work. That was like our whole like philosophy, is like I didn't want my parents to have to work. That's why we went to Disney. That's why we had Disney do this, and they really were able to have a good time that day. Of course, we had some friends have to help out, like steaming our veils and everything. Like my uncle, he steamed my veil that morning. And his wife helped tie like pashminas that we handed out at the ceremony. That's one of the things that we did do, is that we had like another sign that I think my mom bought on like Etsy or something, and it was like to have and to hold in case you get cold. And it was like little pashminas that were on everyone's chair. That was a cool little touch to the ceremony that she did. And I loved it. We just didn't do too many like signs or paper products.
So out of all of this, what ended up being your favorite memory of your wedding day?
I have two. The first look with Justin was fabulous. Me and him looking at the carriage for the first time, though, that was definitely the highlight of the day, was that carriage, and doing the whole carriage ride with my dad and everything. That was a great memory. Another great memory from that day is obviously Haunted Mansion at nighttime. That was kind of, I don't know, that was kind of more of like a a me thing. I'm like, this is my time to shine. Where I was like, this is really cool. But I think seeing the carriage for the first time with Justin was really cool, and he was like carrying my veil like behind me, because we were having to walk from the ceremony space to like behind the hotel area again, where the carriage is like staged, and he was like carrying my veil, and we just turned the corner and the carriage is there, and it was awesome. Well, I had a lot of fun with my family that day too. We had a lot of fun with some of our friends. It wasn't so much like crazy work as it was like, I feel like we were having fun. So as I said earlier, my dad and brother were tartans. They wore like the kilts, and they had it custom made here in Sacramento by a kilt maker. And he had also made my mom a sash to wear. My mom had 3 outfit changes throughout the day. So I had 2, my mom had 3. And that's only fair. That's fine. But she had a sash made that's in the same color as my dad and brother's kilt. And we had forgotten it at home. I don't know how. Like it got left out here in Sacramento. So my dad and brother went to a store in downtown Disney, and thank God it was Christmas time, because if it wasn't Christmas time, we'd be out of luck. And they found a pair of pajamas that looked similar to, like, a pair of like long pajama pants that looked similar to the kilt. And my mom's friend came down to the dressing room. She cut and they sewed up a sash from these pajama pants. And they completely saved the day. And she had the brooch that was supposed to go onto the sash with her. So that made it down. The sash didn't. And they put it all together, and you can't even tell that it was pajama pants. And I think that was like the true like magic of Disney, even though Disney had nothing to do with it. It was the magic of Disney. Magical things happen at Disney, and that was definitely one of them. And then a White Rabbit helped my fiance tie his tie. That was also that like Robertson themed tartan color. So they all had matching kilt colors, the men, and then my mom kind of. So there was a lot of fun that was had that day. It was a great day.
That's fantastic. Now, did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
Things that went wrong were not related to the wedding. The only thing that went wrong that morning is that I had woken up, and me and Justin had it in our hotel room. We had 2 sinks in the hotel room at Disneyland Hotel, and it had filled up with sewage in the morning at 8 a.m. And I'm standing there like getting ready to brush my teeth. And the sink, I just hear a noise, and the sink just like bubbles up. And I'm like, oh no. Like, you don't want this to happen, and you especially don't want this to happen on your wedding day. So I like immediately like grab our toothbrushes, grab our like skincare like items, like everything you don't want like anything from the bathroom on. I grabbed, and I was like, oh my God. And I woke Justin up, and I called the front desk, and then I had a VIP guest services person call me back, and they put us into a temporary room for us to finally brush my teeth at 10 a.m. So it took 2 hours to do that. But so that was the only thing that went wrong that day. By 1 o'clock, I had a new room, and they had delivered all of our luggage by the end of the night, and it ended up there, and everything was complete chaos of our luggage and all of our stuff, but that's okay. So that was the only thing that happened that was wrong that day, but Disney guest services and our wedding planner stepped in, and they took care of it, and it was great. But other than that, it was a perfect day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about, and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
I was kind of worried about the buffet. Like, I thought that I didn't want it to be like, to seem like less formal, because all the weddings I've gone to, it's like plated meals. At least weddings that like I remember, it's like plated meals. And I see a lot of people that I know in my personal life that have gotten married at Disney, they've done the plated. So I was kind of nervous at first to do the buffet. I thought there wasn't enough food options, or I thought that like, oh, like maybe people won't like it, but everyone loved the buffet. That was like the highlight for everyone, was the variety of food that we had. That's the only thing I think I was kind of like unsure about. But other than that, like everything was absolutely perfect.
Got it. Okay. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
Other than like maybe some like more like decor details, I don't think I would have done anything differently. Maybe do like less like buffet options on the food, and like maybe do another late night snack thing instead. But I don't really think there's anything too much that I would have done differently.
That's great. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
Do a makeup trial. I didn't do a makeup trial, and it was a little shocking, I guess, that day. Even though my makeup turned out really good, I think that I would have benefited from doing a makeup trial and not just going in blindly. Obviously, with destination weddings, it's different than like having a local wedding where like you can visit that makeup artist. With destination, it's like, oh, you got to pre-plan, you have to travel, you have to do all this. So I would recommend to really research who you want your makeup to be done by, to research your hair, and to go in with a plan, do a trial, so that on your wedding day, you're not having to make those decisions and possibly cause more time to that makeup artist. Because me and the makeup artist had to sit there and I had to show her photos of my like Pinterest and be like, okay, I want this, I want something like this, I want something like this. And then us kind of put it together, show her pictures of me doing my makeup. I also come from a background where I do a lot of makeup in my personal life on me, and I do my makeup a very specific way. And so I had to show her pictures of me and of the makeup that I kind of wanted for my wedding day, and we had to come up with something on the fly. I think I would have benefited from having that trial.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Samantha, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at the Disneyland Resort, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Carrie.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.